I want to thank the Lord for this opportunity to stand before His people. And at the same time, I would like to thank the lead pastor for giving me this opportunity to share the pulpit with him this morning. The message the Lord has prepared for us at this hour is titled, The Cross and the Cost. The Cross and the Cost. When we say cost, we mean C-U-R-S-E. Now, you'll be asking yourself that every time when we come together to celebrate Easter, the symbol of the cross suddenly pop out all over the world. And everybody wants to share a cross. Everybody wants to wear a cross. Everybody wants to carry a cross. But little do we all know that the cross carry a cost. Because the man that was crucified on the cross was carrying a cost. Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 23. If a man has committed a sin deserving of death, and he is put to death, and you hang him on the tree, his body shall not remain overnight on the tree, but you shall surely bury him that day, so that you do not defile the land which the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. For he who is hanged is accursed of God. So when Jesus cried and said, my Father, why hast thou forsaken me? It was because he was carrying the cross. I've heard a story of a young man in those days who his father took to the farm, and the father asked them to go and get water in a calabash. For those of us who grew up in the farm, you carry calabash to go and fetch water. And this young man, knowing that the father will not know, decided to wee inside the calabash. And so he gave it to the father, and the father drank. It was like Pepsi to the father. The man drank without knowing. And the young man laughed. He said that the father don't know anything. So fast forward in history, he also became old. And he had children. He took them to farm. So his children also went to fetch water for Baba. But this time around, they shit inside the calabash for him. So when he was drinking, he saw shit. And because he knew what he did to his father, he couldn't say anything. The Bible says, a cause causeless shall not harm. So when you see something holding you, it's because you've caused something. So Jesus Christ on the cross had the entire cost of the mankind being placed on him. God could not behold iniquity. The Bible made us to understand in John chapter 3 verse 14. It says, and as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. Now, when you turn your Bible to Numbers 21 verse 8, then the Lord said to Moses, make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole. And it shall be that everyone who is beaten, when he looks at it, what happened? He shall live. I know some of us know this Bible story very well. The Israelite murmured, they complained, they were not happy. They were grumbling against God. And while they were in the wilderness, the Lord sent snakes, serpents, to bite them. And then they ran back to Moses and said, we have sinned. Please, just beg God on our behalf. And God told Moses, pick a bronze or, silver, copper, anything, melt it. Make an image of a serpent and put it on the pole. So, and set it in a place where anybody within the camp, when they look at it, they leave. Simple obedience. Snake bites you. Look at the pole, you leave. Simple. But interestingly, the Bible told us many refused to look. Many, and they died. Many, they died. You know why? Because we always want God to move in the spectacular, whereas God is working in the ordinary. If there's going to be healing this morning, we will expect somebody to do. That's what we're expecting. It must be. But sometimes God just walks through and heals somebody. That's how it works. Until you understand that you don't need to wait for the movement of the water before you are healed. He can just walk by your side and say, take up your bed and walk. The Bible said, he has paid the price. When you hear it is finished, which is telestai in Greek, it says, I've finished the work. I've paid it full. Everything is over. All you have to do is walk in that understanding that it's been paid for. You know, when you take somebody from a police custody, you sign, you fill a paper, you pay all the thing, you are free to walk away with that person if the bail condition has been met. Christ made it for us. He paid it for us. So even as we are walking out, the devil is looking at us and say, you. He said, yes, I've been settled. Jesus is my guy. He paid it all. So why should I be held back? Or somebody said, but you remember the cost of your father? He said, no, he paid it all. He said, but you remember that ancestral village cost that anybody who married in that village, this is what is being paid. It's been paid. You're supposed to walk away. Because the easiest thing that the accuser will do is to call your memory back. Moses ran away from Egypt, spent some years in the wilderness. When he returned back to Egypt, some people met him and said, excuse me, sir, you remember this guy killed somebody when he was running away when he was 40 years old? The accuser will always turn up. But Jesus is always by your side. Now, when the Bible talked about the origin of the curse, you go back all the way to Adam and Eve. Imagine Adam and Eve, they just went around the garden, they saw beautiful, beautiful thing, but God told them, of all the beautiful thing, leave this one. You know, somebody said the human brain cannot comprehend negative. When you tell somebody don't sit there, his brain just start to work. Again, why must they say I should not? And he will be roaming around that place until he sits there. You know, I told my children about a week ago, I said, Peter, Paul, how many years do you have? They said 2. This laptop, don't touch it. You see? I said, don't touch this laptop. They said, namaste. We hear you. So as soon as I left the office this morning, I came downstairs and I walked back upstairs, and lo and behold, Peter and Paul, 2 birds flying on this. They were there. And I said, children, what did I told you? The nature of man is to break law. Don't tell somebody not to stand up. His spirit will feel like I have to stand. You see, if I want you to stand up permanently, I'll say, please have your seat. I'm sure somebody is going to say, no. Meanwhile, I actually wanted you to stand. The nature of man is to disobey the law. And when Adam and Eve disobeyed the law, a curse was attached. God has said, hey, okay, no problem. You do yours, I do mine. Do me, I do you. So the land that has given you that fruit that you ate, I'm going to curse it. So next time when you are going to eat, you will labor. And that's why every time we do German, every day, Monday to Saturday, trying to make out something out of the land. Only if you walk in the understanding that he has redeemed you from the curse of the law. Do you know some people make millions without driving on that road? Oh, you didn't know. He giveth his beloved sleep. Some people sleep and they make money. Some of us, we have to wake up to make money. I hope you know. If God opens the hidden treasures for you, if God opens the hidden treasures for you, and he gives you the key, you will enter his rest. The expectation of God for us is to live a life free of any curse. Whether it is father's curse, mother's curse, generational curse. He wants you to live free. And the only way is to walk through the cross. No other way. He said there is no other name given among men by which we can be what? Saved. Except that name. It seems simple, but it's only through that name. Now, in the Bible, a lot of people place curse on people. Jacob cursed Reuben, you know. But at the point in history, God told Moses, I'm going to be a bit serious with this curse of a thing. When you get to the promised land, in Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 26 to 29, he said, let some people be on this side, let some people be on this side. Those people on this side will continue to rail curses. Those who are on this side will continue to raise a blessing. Imagine all the curses that were released. I'm sure some of us read Deuteronomy 28 very well. You know, in Deuteronomy 28, when you start, he said, these things shall follow you, Abi. And then you start reading. And then after a particular verse, when the blessing ceases, then the curses. There are more verses for curse than blessing. I don't want to read it this morning. The Bible just simply told us the arrival of sin into the world brought with it the curse. The curse of the law is already on anyone who doesn't do according to that which is written in the law. All men by reason of the pronouncement of the law are under a curse. You know, when somebody is trying to please God by doing the law, you know what the Bible says? You don't fail. You know, before you start the exam, imagine you want to write an exam. I took my car for roadworthiness test. During the week, I already know the car will fail. Yes, you know you are going for an exam. You know it's going to fail. But you just want certificate that I arrived there. I just want that paper. It will give me 30 more days to roam around. God is saying, before you even start, oh, thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. You are still doing number 1 and number 2. It's too late. He said, he who is guilty is one. Is guilty of all. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. The reverse of saying it, watch you. The reverse is God saying, live your life. I've paid for you. The life you are living, live it to the fullest. I've paid it for you. But live it in Christ. Where is the place of the cross? You know, when Moses in Numbers chapter 21, verse 4 to 8, talked about the fiery serpent in the wilderness. That word serpent was from the Hebrew word seraph. I know you have heard the word seraphim before. Seraphim. That's from the same word. You know, seraphim, that's the word seraph. Now, those serpents came, they bite them, they did everything. But God told Moses, let me reverse the course. Put a pole. Put a serpent. If anybody looks at it, it's alive. By simply looking. Not that you are taking vaccine. Not that you are taking injection. Not like you are taking a drug. Just look. When you now reach the New Testament, somebody came to Jesus Christ in John chapter 3. How many of you know John chapter 3 very well? You know, when I use the term somebody visited you Nicodemously, people who talk to you or they check on you Nicodemously, the man just showed up. And he said, excuse me, sir. The other time when you were talking, you said, a man must be born again. Must a man enter his mother's womb and be born? Jesus said, let me break it down for you. And in that discussion that Jesus Christ had with Nicodemus, that was where he mentioned this word. I want us to read John chapter 3 verse 14 quickly. He says, it's Jesus that is talking here. He said, and as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be what? Be lifted up. If the cause is to be reversed, I must be lifted up. The transition from here to here would take place at the cross. A new portal is going to be open on that day. Darkness will cover the earth. A new beginning will be heralded, such that people can now walk into the kingdom. And the first person to enter the kingdom that night was the man who was on the cross as well. He didn't attend baptismal class. He didn't have the opportunity to say the Lord's Prayer. He doesn't understand the doctrine of restitution. He was not taken through the 7 steps to glorification. Jesus just looked at him. He said, today, you will understand what we call grace. And the Lord says, come, take up your cross. He didn't say our cross. Your cross is not mine. It's not of the same size. It's not of the same height. It's not of the same width. It will never be of the same length. So when a man is carrying his cross, just carry your own. The grace given to him to finish is also available for you. If your own is heavier than his own, God will give you grace to carry it to the end. Never complain of the cross that you are carrying. You say, oh, are you able to drink the cup that I drink? They say, we are able. Are you able to carry the cross that I'm going to carry? They say, we are able. Ordinary rain this Sunday morning. Some people just put their cross on the wall. I beg, Jare. God is not so wicked. If I didn't come this Sunday, Abi pastor knows it's not my fault. I wanted to come. In fact, heaven saw my heart. I'm watching online where rain and breeze cannot touch me. You know, that's how we assume that God understands. Assumption. God understands. He knows. It's not me. I wanted to come. But as soon as I drove out, I just saw the traffic. I said, we can't devil be this now. We can't devil be this. We can't traffic be this. Father, you know the spirit is willing. But he said, Violuwa, Pastor, I will send my offering online. Bro Jimmy will see a lot. You think God understands? He's marking his attendance. The day you came when it was convenient, he marks it. The day you showed up when it was not convenient, he marks it. He said a book of record is open. He's taking note. The day you gave when it was not much in your hand and you gave much, he knew. The day he knows also that you have much and you say, I cannot for worship in church, everything is being taken care of. He knows. He's taking record. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 1 to 12. He says, who has believed our report and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? Verse 2. He said, for he shall grow up before him as a tender plant and as a root out of dry ground. He has no form of comeliness, and when we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. 3. He is despised and rejected by men. He said, a man of sorrows and acquainted with what? Grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not what? Esteemed him. Verse 4. In verse 4, it says, surely he has borne what? Our griefs. You see, when he was walking and he was carrying that, he was carrying our griefs. And he carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God and afflicted. Verse 5. He said, but what? He was wounded. He was bruised. Verse 6. He said, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have torn everyone to his own way. And the Lord, what did he do? You know what we call laid? Somebody put a load on the ground. And you want to help that person to lift the load on his head. And all of a sudden, instead of putting it on that person's head, they just put it on your head. And once it's entered your head, the thing just glued there. Somebody else's load. You'll not be like, what's going on? You'll be like moving like this. You'll be like moving like this. Yeah. The Bible said the Lord, not that he himself, laid it on himself. The Lord laid it on him. The iniquity of few of us. Even people who are in Islam, even people who are in Arab world, those who are in Chinese country, he summed everybody's iniquity together. And he placed it on him. The next verse. He says, he was what? Oppressed. And he was afflicted. Yet, he opened out his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter. And as a sheep before its shearer is silent. So he opened not his mouth. They are beating him, kicking him. I wish you watched Passion of the Christ. Some of those days, when we watch it, we cry. I remember when we used to go to some of our Catholic church when they still show film on the wall. Once we get to the place where they are beating Jesus, all of us children will be crying. Leave him. As if he should come out of the, of the wall. And then when they now crucify him, we'll be crying. We'll be crying. He didn't open his mouth. Next verse. He was taken from prison and from judgment. And who will declare his generation? You know why? He didn't settle down like some of us and got married and have children. For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was stricken. Verse 9. And they made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death. Because he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Verse 10. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He said he has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Let's go to 11 before we get to 12. 11. He said, he shall see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant shall justify many. Do you know what we call justification now? The fact that he was there on the cross, he has been sending justification to every one of us. Justified. Verse 12 of that, Isaiah chapter 53. He said, therefore, I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressor, and he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressor. Let me tell you, beloved, Christ conquered death so that you can live. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 54 to 56. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 54 to 56. So he says, so when this corruptible has put on incorruption, and this mortal has put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written. What did he say? Death is swallowed up in victory. Go on. 55. Oh death, where's your sting? Hold Hades, where's your victory? Next verse. He said the sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin. So when Christ came, he closed the lid on the law. You know, when he closed the lid on the law, and he shouted, Tetelestai, it is finished. It became a curse so that we can be free from the curse of the law. All you have to do, run to Jesus Christ today. Look on him and live. And as many that look upon him shall surely live. Look and live. My prayer is that the Lord will guide us and lead us in the right path. If you have not met the man at the cross this morning, you have a chance. Maybe you are saying to yourself, I've been carrying a cross. I'm not doing well in Lagos because my daddy, he caused me. Somebody has carried the cross. Why are you still living under the cross? Oh, the reason why I didn't make it is because, no, somebody has died for you. Stop living in the past. Let's rise up on our feet this morning. I just want you to bow down your hearts and say, Lord, help me to be justified in the presence of the cross.